Greetings, comrades. I'm excited to share with you today a project we've been working on for the last 4 years. Our project is an environment for anonymous, zero-knowledge smart contracts, which is called DarkFi. DarkFi is not a corporate startup. You know, DarkFi, we are a community and a movement. DarkFi is a democratic economic experiment, an operating system for humanity. I'm here with my team of developers, Rose, who will be demoing our prototype testnet, is working a lot on token engineering, and Ivan is working on cryptography. He is one of, if you go to the website suckless.org, you will and read their code philosophy. You can understand more about that community of people. And so we're all here because we're brought together on this mission to solve problems. Like a lot of us are hackers, and the hacker mindset is about trying to use technical means to solve problems. You know, that's what the hacker movement was about. And in particular, everybody feels that in the next 5 years, there is some kind of macroeconomic or political event of tremendous significance that's going to happen. We can't exactly say what it is that's going to happen, but we all kind of feel this instinctively, and it's reflected in the movies that we watch. Like if you remember the movies in the 90s, I remember in school, in high school, I was drawing pictures of tsunamis crashing into the city, and we had just won against the Soviet Union, and it was like, everybody was like, okay, what's next? And everything was so boring. And we had all these movies about Independence Day and Godzilla and, you know, Day After Tomorrow, where there was some kind of apocalypse scenario. And then what happened? What did we get? We got 9/11. And I remember coming home from school, and you know, in our house we did not have television, but we did have a TV aerial, which is illegal to use in the UK. And my mum was connecting the TV aerial, and she was going, "Nothing will ever be the same ever again." And it was every single news channel was showing the Twin Towers collapsing, and it was huge. And the thing is, when the last year or so, I watched so much sci-fi, and all of the sci-fi movies, there's this apocalypse. It's very dark. It's very brooding. There's something bubbling under the surface. And the thing is that we all collectively feel this. This is something which is being manifest in some ways by us, you know. And it's kind of like in the final days of the Soviet Union, everybody could see that what they were watching on the television was not what they were experiencing in their life. The economy around them was collapsing. The reality they were being shown was clearly false, but people could not imagine a different way of being, a different society or a different kind of system. And because of that, people, even though they knew everything was a lie, they kept operating the same way. They kept living the same system. And it's kind of similar to what we're experiencing now. We can clearly see there are deep structural crises in our system. And yet, nobody can imagine what comes next. And the system itself has no solutions. The system, it only responds with more control, more power, more domination. And meanwhile, people are becoming so poor. Like, people are really, really poor. And it's like, the desperation is really seeping in. Like people in the 50s used to be able to work for 2 years and to buy a house on minimum wage. It's wild like how far this has come. And meanwhile, both political power and economic power is being concentrated and centralized ever more. In particular, with CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, they're trying to push local banks out of existence. And the end result will be that everybody just has a current account directly at the central bank. And a lot of the left, they're very excited about UBI, Universal Basic Income, which is essentially the fiat shitcoin airdrop to incentivize people to use their system. And when we brought China into the WEF in the 90s, the whole idea was, the Chinese would learn to be more like us. Actually, what's happened is the reverse. And China is implemented this system of social credit scoring. And what the West has done is the West is going, oh, that's a good idea. That's an inspiration. And so what's now they're trying to do with the CBDCs is they want to create a system where they can incentivize citizens to behave a certain way, where everybody is under control of essentially a server inside of the central bank, the central server in the central bank. This system of surveillance that's being erected is an architecture of oppression. Surveillance is a war on society, a type of war, a type of genocide that we could call a society-side. And crypto is the best means we have of protecting ourselves from that system of oppression. If in 2013, the FBI released a report called the Going Dark Problem. And I encourage people to look this up. There's a YouTube video. The director of the FBI, James Comey, is talking about the Going Dark Problem, which is that because of the Edward Snowden disclosures, people had become more aware of the surveillance apparatus all around them and had begun to adopt encryption technologies. And as a consequence, this threatened to create a dark online zone that would be impenetrable to law enforcement. And James Comey calls this encryption technology the tech tool of choice for criminals. So that's how they view us. They view us all as criminals. So the position of our organization is actually that these dark online zones are what allows the nascent emergent seed of true democratic society to come into itself, to realize itself. And there's a beautiful quote from the movie V for Vendetta, where the main character, he says, beneath this mask is more than flesh. Beneath this mask is an idea, and ideas are bulletproof. And for me, that quote really captures the will of crypto. It says that even though you can control someone through physical force, you cannot control an idea. And our ideas are powerful. There is an inevitability about them. And sooner or later, everybody is going to adopt crypto. And, there are people in our industry who are afraid, and they want us to bend the knee to power. But history says otherwise. Change is coming. New inventions and new breakthroughs practically guarantee it. If you look at the history of any major technological revolution, there was nothing, no political force that could stand in the way of social change. So my message to those people is stop worrying about your image. Stop worrying what others think of you. So if we look in crypto now, there is a lot of projects that are very bland, very boring. And the thing is there is a certain network of people, largely based in the US, who, from which this pressure originate. And they always say, think of the first world consumer. Think of mass adoption. But what they really mean is think of my friends in the state who I need the support of to maintain my position. And because they get, cheap dollars that they give to people who give them allocation in their projects. And the thing is, those people, they hate the free market. So the interesting thing is we look at what the market actually desires. We look at what captures people's attention. What is exciting is, vitality, dynamism, intensity. And if that wasn't true, then, we wouldn't, our attention wouldn't be captured by heroic stories about struggles for freedom. So to those in power, I say, darkness is here. Your demise is inevitable. When we are born, we come from the all-encompassing dark into the world, and then when we die, we return back to the dark. The dark is cosmic. The dark is our destiny. It lies behind the curtain in every direction and represents freedom, growth, and life. We have also been gifted agorist counter-economics. Agorism is the philosophy of many of the early people in the Bitcoin. It's a philosophy that was somehow forgotten. It was also Ross Ulbricht's favorite book, was Alongside Night, was a story about a group of revolutionary libertarian cadre who overthrow the US government through free market economics and free market trade. And agorism is about using counter-economics and markets to create these free spaces, these parallel societies. And the funny thing is, when I'm walking around and I see the Bitcoin logo outside in the street, it's like, wow, we're actually living in this novel Alongside Night. It's like we're actually seeing this materialize. Right now, a lot of the narrative inside of crypto is, very focused on, the first world and stuff like ArtFi, GameFi, social media fi, and, stuff to do with the entertainment and celebrity business. And this is the kind of side that power will allow to persist and survive precisely because it doesn't harm anything. And it's pretty much like, I wouldn't say totally, but kind of a dead end. But with crypto, any person can send to anyone else, to any place, at any time in the planet, or, we can make our own sovereign organizations which are self-governed and autonomous, organizations which are uncensored, anonymous, and open source. I really think there is something emerging that's extremely powerful out of DAOs and DeFi, which is that people are, or new concepts or novel modalities are able to realize their potentiality before state influences can narrow them ideologically. And what DAOs and DeFi really do is they destroy proprietary models of power and capital monopolies. And they will try to stop this at all costs because it's a big threat to their power. And I say, let's wield that power. Let's make things happen. And cryptoanarchy. Cryptoanarchy is the tactic of using cryptography to create a space of freedom which cannot be penetrated by the power and capital monopolies using coercive force. It's a space of freedom which is a nascent seed of democratic society, social structures that resist state control and totalitarian power from the start. They are programmed with the code of resistance, spaces which counter social atomization and promote voluntary communal bonds by those who cherish freedom. And these dark spaces are what we call an alliance of democratic forces. So the darkness is coming and will sweep over our digital world. It cannot be stopped since the benefits it brings are too great. All the latent potentialities of humanity that are being pushed down will be allowed to rise up to the top. This is a great power that we must use respectfully. Remember, every technological revolution in history had its naysayers who wanted to put the genie back into Pandora's box, but they were dragged kicking and screaming into the future against their will. When the printing press was invented, there was widespread revulsion at the fact that the working class had access to news and information. And yet, here we are repeating events. I'm not making any judgments or edicts. It's simply statements of fact. Take it or leave it, this is what will happen. Welcome to the agorist future. So, let there be dark.
So I'm going to give a very swift demo of where we're at with DarkFi currently. And louder, sorry, can you hear me? Quick demo. And then I'm going to pass on to Ivan, who's going to give another quick demo. So just to explain briefly where we're at with DarkFi, we have a testnet now operational. On the testnet, you can deposit, send, and receive anonymous tokens. The testnet is multi-blockchain. We have bridges working with Solana and Bitcoin, and we plan to add Ethereum and Monero very soon. The testnet showcases two anonymous smart contracts, the Mint and Burn, which enable anonymous payments. In the future, DarkFi will be able to support any kind of anonymous contract. So this just showcases, some of its potential. So I'm going to start off. Well, actually, first I'm going to check my balances. Typing with one hand. Here you can see I've got some tokens on there already. So I'm going to deposit some Monero. And I'm going to do so like this. Oh, by the way, you can find this testnet on GitHub at github.com/darkrenaissance/darkfi, and follow the instructions in the README to install it, and follow the tutorial at /doc/tutorial.md for more detailed instructions. I'm going to need you to hold this for a sec. Thanks. Deposit XMR. Oh yeah, so now I just made a deposit request to the DarkFi cashier, which is I'm gonna deposit some Monero, and it's gonna send me back some dark Monero, darkened Monero. So I'm now gonna send some token. Just picking up the address for Monero. I'm going to transfer one of those. Oh, and I have to, 1 second. It's going to give me a warning. Oh, yeah. Dash, fund. Okay, so that was transferring. So oh yeah, so they just got sent to the DarkFi cashier, which is issuing anonymous wrapped tokens in exchange for the token that I just deposited that are one-to-one redeemable. So let's just check if that came through, balances. If so, we should see some XMR. Oh, not yet. Oh, you can't see? Just like screen. Oh, shit. Okay, it's probably the internet. connection's really bad. But I will go through ahead and just demonstrate how we would use the tool with the rest. So this is transfer. And I will send some ohms. And I'm just going to send to myself actually, dark wallet dash dash address. Dark transfer. I'm going to send one. So I'm now sending some anonymized ohms to another DarkFi user. Yeah. I'll just hold the mic. Yeah. Yeah, sure. So this is the process that we're now going through is like central to how we anonymize the coins within DarkFi. So every time there's a transfer or like a state transition, the coins are burned and a fresh coin is minted. So that's how we achieve this anonymity, which we define as the unlinkability between transactions. So, okay, that's lagging, I think. So this is enforced with zero knowledge. We create mint and spend contracts, and then we write proofs that enforce their behavior. But we will hear a little bit more about that in the next demo.
Should I go on? Or?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so the way I see this, it's like built modularly. We have all these tools that follow the Unix philosophies, which is like we allow people to actually build their own interfaces and their own scripts to DarkFi. So the narrative of today's like crypto development is these monolithic pieces of software that only work from the browser or only work as a single like black box binary or something. It's not ideal. What we do and what the philosophies we follow is actually the point where we can build and empower developers to build interfaces based on Unix principles. When it comes to ZK, we also want to follow these philosophies. So we want to empower developers. We don't want them to be thinking about this esoteric machinery, which is like ZK circuits and how to optimize these circuits and how to write them. We want to empower developers with a simple language that actually shows them and, I can't multitask, that actually explains them how to write circuits, but without worrying about optimization. We want the language to be simple. And an example of it is proof. So for example, this is like a piece of our language. It's like from the sapling payment scheme, you have mint and spend. This is the mint side of it. And if you've ever written ZK circuits, you know that you like have to do circuit configuration and optimizations in these things. We actually build our own assembly-like language, and we have our compiler like be ready to like, have pluggable optimizations in it. So with this, we empower developers. They can just like write products and iterate really fast without worrying about what's happening in the backend in the machinery. So with this kind of code that you see on the screen, we can actually compile it, and it becomes like a binary code. So this is like a human readable version, and what we can do with it is we can run it in a VM. So this actually executes the, oh shit. So this actually executes the mint contract and does the zero knowledge proof. The software we're using behind this is Zcash's Halo 2. We use the complete API. And that's how, if we reuse the existing software, we can easily build optimizations. So having simple interfaces like this and having the workflow streamlined, allowing like Unix philosophies and approaches and letting you build your own interfaces, we can allow developers to build many kinds of anonymous products. And they can have anonymous DAOs, anonymous auctions, anonymous swaps, anonymous futures, anonymous markets, everything just simply done with streamlined tooling. And yes, so that's the VM part. And if, where's Amir? Okay. Do you want to finish on something?
Let there be dark.